All right, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores. I'm sorry that I'm recording this video so late. I'm starting at 10:45 p.m. Who knows when it's actually going to get out to y'all, because the recording's probably going to go for like an hour, let alone editing, and then how long it takes to upload, get the thumbnail and everything. But forget all of that. I just had to take a break to just catch my voice back a little bit, just let it rest for a little, eat a little bit of food after that call-in show directly after the game. Now it's time to get to the video. First of all, Jayden Daniels breaking NFL records, not rookie records, NFL records, doing things that even the greats have never done in their lives. We're gonna dive into that. Of course, we got to break down everything from this Washington Commanders versus Arizona Cardinals whooping, straight belt to A, man. We're gonna do a full review and analysis. You already know how these game reviews go. We're gonna go position group by position group. We're gonna start with Kliff Kingsbury as your offensive coordinator. Then we're gonna talk quarterback. Then we're gonna talk running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, offensive line, then the defense, defensive line, linebackers, corners, safeties, and special teams as well. So make sure you stick around for the entire video for analysis for every player that contributed to this game, man. Kliff Kingsbury, revenge, and more. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you stiff on that like button, stiff on the subscription button, stiff on the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this. Let me go ahead and knock this video out before I go and get a headache from all of the excitement I have going on right now, man. It just feels so good to be winning. Now, if you're not a channel member yet, go become one, because I will be doing film sessions throughout this week like I've been doing the previous few weeks since the regular season started, where I'm breaking down film on individual players from the previous game. So make sure you stay tuned. If you're not a channel member, go become one. Also, be on the lookout, because we're to the point now I'm doing like 2 videos a day at least. So if you're not going and checking out the StreetScores channel and refresh like multiple times a day, you're slipping, because I'm doing like 2 videos a day outside of the film sessions that are exclusive to channel members only. So make sure you stay tuned. I got y'all covered, live streaming every regular season game. I even plan on even going to one. I'll let y'all know which one that is when I finally finalize those plans. But without further ado, let's go and dive into the video, man. Instead of wasting more of y'all time, because this video is already about to be really long, let's get it. Adam. All right, so we gotta start with Kliff Kingsbury, and of course he got his revenge against the team that he used to be a head coach for. Zach Ertz got some revenge against them as well today, a team that he used to be a tight end for just a couple of years ago. But dating back even further than that, Kliff Kingsbury was the head coach at Arizona Cardinals, and I said going into this game, if anybody knows Kyler Murray's weaknesses, it is Kliff Kingsbury. I wanted him involved in every defensive meeting, every defensive position group, D-line, linebackers, corners, safeties, everybody. Make sure you tell them all of his weaknesses and strengths exactly so we can game plan against it. I'm assuming that's what happened with as well as our defense played today compared to the first 3 weeks. Now, I do feel like a big element to why the defense played better was, first of all, Emmanuel Forbes returned, and I know some people aren't going to give him his credit, but he played well today, not just in coverage, but also against the pass as well. I mean, against the run as well. He set the edge for a Jeremy Chin tackle. We'll talk about that later. But, and I can't wait to get like Jordan McGee and FL Bada back as well. That's going to help. But I think the main thing is that this is an entirely new defensive system, defensive players. Everything is different here. The entire team top to bottom is different. That's what makes what we're doing on offense even more remarkable. It's not like Jayden Daniels got plopped into a system where we already had a bunch of established receivers, an offensive coordinator that's been with the team for a couple of years before that quarterback got there. No, everything is completely new. So this is just like historical what we're doing on offense. This is not normal. This is even more impressive than what the CJ Stroud and the Texans did last year, and definitely more impressive than what RG3 did his rookie season, especially first 4 games wise. But again, going back to defense, my main point is that these guys I don't even think many starters played at all in the preseason. Like Bobby Wagner, I don't think he played at all in the preseason. Jonathan Allen, Devon Payne, none of these guys played a single snap in the preseason. So this is like a lot of their times, like starting week 1 against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that's the first time that they've ever been on like an actual NFL field together as an entire defense. So I felt like it was going to take time. It was only a matter of time for them to get right. But of course, we're here to talk about Kliff Kingsbury. I just had to get that thought out the way before I forget it by the time we get to the defensive side of the football in this video. But by the way, Kliff Kingsbury, he even got the game ball at the end of the day, and he deserved it. Now, personally, if I could only give away one game ball, like I'm not allowed to give the ball to anybody else, I can't give it to multiple people. Even though I want to give it to Jayden, I really want to give it to Kliff Kingsbury. I'm sorry, I may have to give it to the O-line, just me personally, but we're going to get there, man. I'm going to explain my reasons. The O-line has played at an elite level for 2 games in a row, and I would argue they played even better this game against the Cardinals than they did against the Bengals. Right now, our O-line is looking like, I don't know if they are a top 5 offensive line in the NFL, but they've literally played like it the past 2 weeks. Again, we're going to get there, and they're going to have a big challenge going up against Myles Garrett and the Browns next week. That's going to be a real test for them, but so far the test that they've been given, they've aced it at least 2 weeks in a row now, but we're gonna get there. Again, Kliff Kingsbury, I fully understand why you give him the game ball, especially in that locker room in Arizona where he used to be the head coach. It makes too much sense. I actually would have been even though I personally would side with the offensive line by like a very slight margin, I would have been actually pretty upset if Kliff Kingsbury didn't get that game ball in the locker room and they didn't allow him to get his speech off and everybody to celebrate him, because that was masterful. I mean, that was pure art, like how he put that offense together. So far through these first 4 weeks, this offense has been poetry in motion, man. It's ridiculous, and it's just so fun, like not only as a fan, but even just like a guy with a YouTube channel, as in me, as Rico and StreetScores, covering a team that scores a bunch of points. Winning is one thing, that's fantastic as well, but that extra layer of the fact that we're an exciting team to watch that other people care about, now other fans of other fan bases and the national media are watching the Commanders. They're paying attention to the Commanders. They're talking about the Commanders. This is the most fun season I've had easily since I've started my YouTube channel, and I know it's only 4 games in, but this is the best season I've seen so far being alive as a Commanders fan, because I wasn't alive to see any of our Super Bowls. And we're going to even talk about Jayden Daniels quarterback wise. We talking about best quarterback in Washington history. We'll get there soon. But man, Kliff Kingsbury, if there was one way to describe him, there's several positive words you can use, but right now fun has to be one of the top ones, man. I mean, just ridiculous stuff, bro. I mean, even like the 3rd and 4 in the first quarter, I think it was the first drive of the game, like to run that little pick to get Olamide Zaccheaus open on a 3rd and 4 to complete that and get that first down going, which eventually led to a touchdown drive. I mean, then Wildcat direct snap to B-Rob a few plays after that on the same drive, 9-yard gain on first down. And then right after that, I mean, well, first of all, Brian Robinson 6 yards out was able to get an easy touchdown. I mean, he made it look easy, man. And then that eventually made it 7-7. This was another game where we were down 7-0 on the road. I feel like that's not being talked about enough. I feel like Dan Quinn and this entire coaching staff and these players, the leaders amongst the players, especially guys like Bobby Wagner, Jayden Daniels, and Zach Ertz and these guys, whoever's like keeping everybody calm and poised, because to be down 7-0 on the road twice and to win convincingly both games is insane, because you have the crowd against you to start the game. But we'll talk about that later too, because it seems like the crowd flipped to the Commanders, and since when have we taken over in a away stadium? I mean, we barely been able to even take over our own stadium, you know, the past how many years. Also though, I do want to point out the fact that Washington ran 12 personnel, 1 running back and 2 tight ends quite a bit. I think the entire first scoring drive that we had against the Cardinals, the opening drive, I think we ran that every single play. And to note, shouts out to David Harrison for pointing this out. I believe that's what the Detroit Lions did against the Cardinals the week before. So we saw that 2 tight end packages, 12 personnel specifically, could beat up on the Cardinals. And that the Lions gave us that formula. Kliff Kingsbury was like, all right, we're not going to get too cute. That's what works against them. That's what we're going to do against them. Even though I think we just naturally have a good 12 personnel, that we can start to do that more often against other teams as well. But smart job by Kliff Kingsbury for scouting. Okay, the Cardinals defense is weak against this. The Lions showed us that. Why not do what the Lions did? Why overthink it? Why reinvent the wheel? It worked against them that way. Let's do the same thing. And man, I mean, at a certain point, we had 15 consecutive scoring drives, excluding kneel downs. And that drive was 9 plays, 70 yards, and ended with a 6-yard rushing touchdown with Brian Robinson. Insane stuff, man. And I'm not going to lie, based off of what I've seen so far these first 4 weeks, and on top of the fact that we ran the ball like crazy there. We had 233 yards passing. That's pretty straight. Like, that's good, right? How about 216 yards rushing? So I'm ready to declare that Kliff Kingsbury, I mean, we can argue about who has the best offense in the NFL, who's the best offensive coordinator so far through 4 games of this NFL season. There's a debate to be had there. But as far as the best run scheme in the NFL, I think it's Kliff Kingsbury. On top of the stats of having 216 yards rushing in this game, I feel like also just the creativity. Again, Wildcat direct snap to Brian Robinson. You're utilizing Jayden Daniels' legs. You're giving Olamide Zaccheaus the ball out of the backfield on reverses. You're doing way less screens that you used to do, but you're still utilizing the screen game as well. You're getting really creative with some of these design runs. Like that one Jayden Daniels design run where we had some offensive lineman pull, and then you had Brian Robinson as a lead blocker, and he did a really good job with it. Noah Brown also up there in front blocking well. I mean, these design runs are insane right now. Our run game is absolutely unstoppable. Also, I do want to point out the fact that before we get to the receivers, because I don't want to forget this thought, but remember this as part of like my receiver breakdown, is that the receivers, everybody, tight ends, even the running backs, everybody blocked way better week 4 against the Cardinals than they were blocking weeks 1 and 2 against the Buccaneers and Giants, like on the perimeter. That's the difference between a 4-yard gain and a 40-yard gain. When the receivers are out there blocking and making sure they wall off DBs, that's a whole lot more yardage potential that you have from any running play, whether it's Jayden Daniels, a running back, or whoever, a screen pass. That was clearly a point of emphasis. I called it out a couple of weeks ago. I'm sure, I mean, just me being Rico of StreetScores, a YouTuber, if I saw it, I'm very sure the Commanders coaches saw it, and you could just tell by the way that they were blocking today against the Cardinals that that was clearly a point of emphasis over the last couple of weeks, and those guys have answered and responded. I hope they can keep it up, because receivers blocking well on the perimeter opens up everything for your run game. I was saying that before we even drafted Jayden Daniels. Once we hire Kliff Kingsbury, we are going to need to have these receivers blocking well on the perimeter, and when they finally do that, you see we busted open for 216 yards rushing. There's no coincidence that the first game that these receivers block well is the first game we run for 200 plus yards. And hey, inevitably though, it was gonna happen. Tress Way had his first punt since the 4th quarter of week 1, and it was a great punt too, man. But that was 16 straight drives resulting in points for us. The streak has ended. I say we go ahead and kick that streak back up. You know what I'm saying? Why not? And then I love the conversion, the 4th down conversions we were going for, 4th and 1, and then wide open run right up the middle for like 20 yards. That happened like twice, it felt like, and I felt like Linnell Willingham described it perfectly. Kliff Kingsbury's offense. It is an exotic smash mouth football. It's kind of like an oxymoron essentially, because exotic is typically the cute, fast-paced, horizontal, vertical, flashy things. Smash mouth is more punch you in the mouth through the A gap, running it with Brian Robinson type of stuff. It's a beautiful blend of both, where we're smashing you in the mouth. You're sick of having to tackle guys that are breaking tackles like Brian Robinson, but you also have to worry about an elite amount of speed and agility on the perimeters as well. So it's really nothing you can do, and you're having to think a lot, because Kliff Kingsbury is definitely making it difficult for defenses to know what we're doing any given drive, because he is the type of guy, and we talked about this before the season even started, Kliff Kingsbury is the type of guy to run several different plays out of the same exact formation and look, so defenses have no idea what's on the way. Also, shouts out to Rush Manuel for pointing this out, because last week Zach Ertz had a penalty and they went right back to him the next play. De'Ami Brown had a penalty, went right back to him the next play. This week Olamide had that penalty that I thought was extremely petty. That was not a real taunting penalty. The rest was just finding any way to potentially try to keep the Cardinals in the game, but it's whatever. And then they went right back to him 2 plays later. Ball don't lie. He picked up the first down anyway. He should have had it on the first play, but the refs hate it. And I just love the fact that Dan Quinn and Kliff Kingsbury really trust their players. They make a mistake, they're like, nope, you're gonna go right back out there and correct that mistake. You're gonna fix it, not somebody else bail you out. You get a penalty, you make up for it. You make sure that ball doesn't lie. Also, shouts out to Craig Hoffman for this one. Washington has now scored 30 points in back-to-back weeks for the first time since weeks 10 and 11 in 2017. Here's how often they've done it each year since. 2023, 3 times, cool. 2022, once. 2021, twice. And then 2020, 2019, 2018, once each for all of those as well. I mean, the Commanders, shouts out to Grant Paulson for pointing this out. The Commanders ran the ball on 3rd and 9 to run clock, and we ended up gaining 16 yards for it. And then we had a 15-yard personal foul added at the end, which, I mean, really just put us on their side of the field. And it just seemed like everything was going well for us. Everything was clicking. It was crazy. And, man, Kingsbury, to see him on that sideline smiling so hard after that last touchdown to go up 42-14 was so amazing, because it looked like we were just trying to run the clock out. I mean, we literally ran it like right up the A gap with Jeremy McNichols. Looked like, you know, 3rd and long or whatever it was, like let's just run this clock out and kick a field goal, we'll be okay. Then he broke loose for another touchdown, which had us breach over 40 points in the game, and Kliff Kingsbury was just literally smiling, man. Cheesing, running up and down the sidelines, high-fiving everybody, hugging everybody. You could just tell that really meant something to him, and so I'm so happy for him, if not anybody else. Also, shouts out to Jack Andrade. I hope that's how you pronounce his name, Andrade, and I hope that's how you, Andrade. Either way, though, 23 scoring drives, only 19 incomplete passes, and only 4 points so far this season. He pointed out the fact that the 1973 Rams are the only other team in the Super Bowl era that had more scoring drives, 21, than incomplete passes, with 14 in their first 4 games of a season. And this is even more efficient than that, because we've had 23 scoring drives to 19 incompletions. So 2 more scoring drives, but technically 5 more incompletions. That's the last time anybody else has ever done that. Anything close to that were the 1973 Rams. I want y'all to understand how historical this offense has been, man. I mean, is it time to start debating, do we have the best offense in the league? Forget best run game. Do we just have the best offense, period, in the league right now, man? And just to let you know, 42 points are the most points scored by Washington since week 11 of 2016, just in case if you were wondering. And again, this is the first time we've scored 38 plus points in consecutive games since week 11 and week 12 of the 1991 season. And we all know how that 1991 season ended. I'm not going to get too crazy though right now, but just know we're doing something that we haven't done since 1991. What does that sound like to you? And I also want to emphasize the fact that all of this happened without Austin Ekeler. You're arguably your most explosive player on offense outside of Jayden Daniels through the first few weeks up until the point that he got hurt. I mean, he is at the very least your best special teams returner. I mean, the way he's been returning kicks, he's been our most impactful special teams player easily. I mean, outside of Austin Cyborg, of course. And I would love, I mean, you know, it's nice to, now we're in the days where Tressway isn't considered our best player on the team. We barely even use the guy outside of being a placeholder. But my point is, all of those stats I just gave you and how elite this offense is arguably the best offense in the NFL. We're doing this without one of our biggest playmakers on the entire team. That's Austin Ekeler. But shouts out to Jeremy McNichols, man, because he stepped up big time and gave us 2 rushing touchdowns today. And also, I really want to point out the fact that I love how much we convert 2nd and longs and 3rd and longs like it's nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, 3rd and like 7 or 8, like 3rd and goal on like the 7-8 yard line, and we don't just run the ball to run the clock and just go for an easy field goal. We allow Jayden Daniels to go back there, read an entire defense, go through his reads. I think Terry McLaurin was like the 3rd read at the soonest, and he was able to deliver that touchdown in the back of the end zone to him. Like, the trust in these players, the trust in the coaching staff, the trust in this offensive line, the trust in the coach, the quarterbacks, the trust in the receivers, everything is insane. And then on top of like 2nd and longs and 3rd and longs, how about we just convert 4th downs like it's absolutely nothing? We went 1 of 1 today. I believe I don't think we've missed on a 4th down conversion attempt all season from what I believe. And you can maybe even go back a little bit to last season since the last time we missed out on a 4th down conversion. Right now, we're the best 4th down conversion team, I think, in the NFL right now. Also, shouts out to @Washington today for pointing this out and saying this, because I have a point to make after this. He tweeted, Kliff Kingsbury will get head coaching opportunities this offseason if he keeps this up, which scares the hell out of me. I'll push back on that only because he's balling. No deny he's balling. But I feel like since he's already been a head coach and he hated it, he wants to just purely focus on the offense. That's it. Like an Arizona Cardinals reporter, I believe it was, at some point, I think he went on John Kahn's podcast, somebody's podcast, at some point earlier, like after we hired Kliff Kingsbury, well before the draft, well before we even had Jayden Daniels. And he talked about, like, at training camp practices, Kliff Kingsbury would literally, even though he's the head coach, he would just be with the offense all the time, mostly just with Kyler Murray specifically. And like, he would pretend to, you know, do head coaching things, go look at the defense, oversee them for a second, and then immediately go right back to the offense. You can tell this guy does not want to have to juggle an entire team. He just wants to focus on offense, not defense and special teams. I don't think we have to worry about him necessarily leaving for a head coaching job. I think with Arizona, he loved the title, but he did not like the responsibilities at all. He couldn't wait to be done with that. I'm pretty sure he was done with it after the first couple of years. He just had to finish it out until they eventually fired him or his contract ran out, whichever one it was. And I think he is so happy that now he is an offensive coordinator for an explosive NFL team like this. And all he has to worry about is the offense. He doesn't have to worry about player acquisition, free agency, draft, scouting. He just has to worry about offense, and that's it. I feel like this is where he wants to be long term. I'm not gonna lie. Now, granted, if teams come and start approaching him about like big bag money, maybe we'll have a problem. Maybe he'll give it a go again just because of like a ridiculous increase in money, maybe compared to what he's making as a defensive coordinator. Even though Josh Harris has shown that I think we have the highest paid coaching staff in the NFL right now, he's willing to pay guys this money. Like Anthony Lynn didn't come here for cheap to be a run game coordinator after being the run game coordinator for the 49ers. I mean, pretty much a lateral move. And the running backs coach as well here. But I don't really see Kliff Kingsbury moving. This is just too great of a situation for him. I mean, he wouldn't leave to go be an offensive coordinator somewhere else. I think the only way you could possibly even get to pull him away is to maybe if you offer him a head coaching job at college. And even then, I don't think that makes a lot of sense. Honestly, I don't see him leaving unless he for some reason wants to give that a go again. But everything that I remember and that I saw from him giving it a go the first time with Arizona, he doesn't want to do that again. He does not want to do that again. Also, now it's time to move to Jayden Daniels, arguably the star of the show, but there are so many different stars of the show. I don't really know who to point at, man, but God, leave, man. I mean, Jayden Daniels, even when he wasn't making plays specifically, hit the threat of him making a play like that. When we scored our first touchdown of the game, it's 1st and goal. Jayden Daniels read option. You see several, like literally if you just watch the replay and pause it when Jayden Daniels is pretending to hand the ball off to Brian, which he eventually does, but at first he's doing a read option. He can keep it if he wants to, while him and Brian Robinson are really close to each other and the Cardinals defense does not know who has it yet. You see several players moving towards Jayden Daniels, and that threat is why Brian Robinson, first of all, I mean, of course the great blocking from the O-line as well, but that threat of Jayden Daniels caused a couple of defenders, especially the linebackers and DBs, to be like a step or two away from Brian Robinson, which allowed him to get that easy touchdown on the opening drive. So even when Jayden Daniels wasn't specifically making a great play, but you also got to give him credit for handing that off to Brian Robinson. That's a read option. It was his decision to keep it or hand it. He made the decision to give it to Brian Robinson. So he deserves credit for that as well, but also the threat of his legs alone is why Brian Robinson is able to run the ball as effectively as he is right now. And Jayden Daniels' ball placement was perfect today outside of that Terry McLaurin interception. And then also that overthrow to Noah Brown. I believe it was like 4th quarter, one of our last couple of drives. We went for it on I think we tried to go for it. It was like 2nd down, and we went for like a Noah Brown throw, and it was overthrown. I think we ended up converting it to 3rd and long anyway. I forgot. I think it may have been Olamide Zaccheaus who ended up getting it. Terry McLaurin, somebody. But either way, like outside of those 2 incompletions, Jayden Daniels was spot on accurate. His ball placement was elite today at times, dog. Especially that Luke McCaffrey throw towards the end of the game, man. But just to let you know, Jayden Daniels had his first incompletion in the last 17 throws that he attempted when he threw that interception to Terry McLaurin. And what's crazy though, first of all, he didn't have any interceptions through 3 weeks of a rookie debut in the NFL. That's already ridiculously impressive. But also that Terry McLaurin interception wasn't a bad decision. Terry McLaurin was open. He just threw an inaccurate pass. I prefer for him to throw an inaccurate pass and make the right decision than to make the wrong decision. I think that's much more, we can work with that. You just got to be more on point. That's an accuracy issue, but we've seen throughout the game. I mean, the guy finished what's the box score? This man he's 26 of 30. This man just went 21 of 23. People challenged him to having another efficient game. He said, a bet. I'll do you one bet. We'll do 26 of 30. It may not be as high of a percentage, but it's still a ridiculous percentage, dog. He's cooking right now. I don't know what to tell you. And so the Commanders scoring drive streak ended at 16 because of the Jayden Daniels' first interception of his career. Of course, it was bound to happen at some point. Quarterbacks don't go their entire careers without throwing interceptions. But, of course, after the interception, we were looking like, what are you going to do to bounce back? And I'm not going to lie, the way he bounced back made me more confident in him than if he never threw the interception in the first place. Because now we know that Jayden Daniels can throw an interception, and he's going to bounce back even harder and better than he was before he threw it. He's not going to let it spiral out of control. He's not one of those quarterbacks, he gets one interception, it ruins his confidence. Now he's a little scared skittish with the ball. He's not willing to attack deep down the field. Or you have other quarterbacks that one interception goes into another, while they're trying to overcompensate and make up for the mistake, and they're doing too much. Or again, like the inverse, where they do too little because now they're afraid to make another mistake. He was perfect after that interception. Just like you could say that he finally learned to read defenses after he got hit in the stomach against the Giants, which knocked the wind out of him. You can also say that after that interception, he learned how to dice up defenses even better than he was already doing, man. And we already knew Jayden Daniels was not going to have a perfect game every week for the rest of his life. There will be mistakes, but it's all a part of the process, and I'm really excited about his future, dog, because after that interception, he was confident. I mean, let alone the interception happened, and then on that drive where we pushed the ball down to go ahead and kick a field goal before we went into halftime to, I think, go up like 17-7. Jayden Daniels, after he scrambled for like 6 yards, and that may have been like the last play before we ended up kicking the field goal, he ran out of bounds, and as he's going back to the huddle, he turns around to an Arizona Cardinals player. You can see it on the live broadcast, but you just got to read his lips. He said, "Y'all are not effing with me." And he literally said the actual cuss word, "Y'all are not effing with me," straight to an Eagles player right in his eyes. And I mean, it's already one thing to be a very good, very talented quarterback, to be a franchise quarterback, but to also be a trash talker, to basically kind of be like the Anthony Edwards of football, is insane. Like, he's my favorite Washington player of all time just off of the trash talk. I'm a big trash talk guy. That's why Chad Johnson was one of my favorite players growing up. I mean, I love my burgundy and gold, but I mean, I need trash talkers to root for, dog. That's why Anthony Edwards is my favorite athlete of all time, period. Now, of course, there's some bias there because he's the most Atlanta athlete I've ever seen in life. Never seen another Anthony Edwards before, so just that alone. Like, I mean, I just feel like I know him so well just because he reminds me of all of my friends and cousins, everybody. Like, he's literally, if you want to meet more Anthony Edwards, come hang out with me in Atlanta. I bet you I got another 10 of them. So like Anthony Edwards automatically, but Chad Johnson, now granted, Pac-Man Jones and Cam Newton, same high school, so there's a little bias there, but they also trash talk. Marcus Peters, Marshawn Lynch. I'm going on a tangent to basically explain that I can only really root for you to a certain extent unless you got that extra trash talk to you, because that's who I am in real life. Y'all may not necessarily see that in me from my YouTube videos, but trust me, if you hoop with me, best believe you're gonna get a lot of Anthony Edwards. Like, I'm way closer to Anthony Edwards than y'all probably think. I enunciated everything in these YouTube videos because I'm trying to be presentable, but trust me, you hang out with me in real life, you'll see it. Either way, I attach myself to trash talkers. Yeah, I mean, walking the walk is obviously the most important part, but if you can talk that talk with it, and once I saw that Jayden Daniels told those Cardinals players, y'all not effing with me while we're only up 17-7, I was like, oh yeah, we about to blow these boys out. We about to go up there and put 40 on their heads. That's all I needed to see. That level of confidence soon after throwing an interception, he just knew he was about to kill him. Just to let you know, at halftime, this guy had a 0.21 EPA per play, a total of EPA of 4, and an average depth of target of 10.1, and he had a completion percentage of 84.6, and he had a CPOE of 15.7. In reverse, Kyler Murray at halftime, negative 0.2, negative 3.2, 6.5 instead of Jayden Daniels' average depth of target of 10.1. And Jayden Daniels had a 15.7 CPOE. Kyler Murray had a negative 3.4 at halftime. Just to compare them at halftime. Now we move to second half. And I'm telling you, man, the way he goes through his progressions are amazing, man. And like that one play specifically, he went to like 4 different receivers before he landed on Ben Sinnott as the 5th option. Now, of course, if a quarterback ever has time to go through to his 5th option, go through 5 different reads, of course his offensive line is blocking very well, but Jayden Daniels also deserves credit for going through them very quickly. It's not like it took him forever to do that. He would boom, 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 boom. Ben Sinnott is open underneath. Let me get it to him. Didn't force it. Nice safe throw to him to pick up significant yards. I think that was on first down to make it second and easy. And of course, we converted that because we convert second and longs. You think we're not going to convert a second and short? Come on now. Now let's get to some amazing Jayden Daniels achievements that came from this game. First of all, Jayden Daniels rushed in for his 4th rushing touchdown against the Cardinals for the season. Washington now has had 3 different rushers score touchdowns in back-to-back contests. Also, I mean, that throw to Noah Brown on 3rd and 13 for 14 yards was insane. The read of defense like that was crazy. I mean, I really feel like with Jayden Daniels as our quarterback and Kliff Kingsbury as our offensive coordinator, and especially with this O-line and these receivers doing what they need to do, it really feels like no matter the down and distance, everything is achievable right now. It's absolutely beautiful. Also, shouts out to Craig Hoffman for this one. This is a totally different quarterback from week 1. And that guy was still pretty solid, but Jayden just holding in tight is premier stuff right now. And by the way, he's got all day because his line is playing their tails off. Amazing what a year, good coaching, and a different quarterback can do. I completely agree. I mean, Jayden Daniels, at a certain point, I think he finished the game with 4 incompletions. That's only 2 more than last week. How unacceptable that is, right? Right? Like, how dare he throw for 4 incompletions on 30 pass attempts? Like, how dare he, right? Also, Jayden Daniels threw his first incompletion on a pass under 15 air yards since 1 minute and 12 seconds left in the fourth quarter of week 2 against the Giants, just to let you know. Daniels had completed 35 straight passes of 15 air yards or less between incompletions, and that's 100 minus and 5 seconds of game clock. That's insane stuff. Not particularly a record, but anything 15 yards or left, he was automatic into up to a point, like I think it was late third quarter or something like that. And then, just to let you know, bro, one of them times we kicked the field goal where the Cardinals sent everybody at us. I mean, they sent everybody at Jayden. I promise you, at the minimum, 28 other quarterbacks in this NFL right now that are starters get sacked on that play and probably get you out of field goal range. But Jayden Daniels finds a way to get you a 4-yard gain or throw, I think, to Terry McLaurin or something like that. I'm telling you, that was one of the biggest signs that we have a franchise quarterback right there. That is a very special play. It was only a 4-yard gain. We only ended up kicking a field goal afterwards, so I feel like the common fan may not notice how impressive that was, but they sent like 8 guys at him, and he had to basically sprint backwards and away from the defense to just go ahead and get a 4-yard gain, keep the clock going, and get us in slightly better field goal range, rather than taking a sack and getting us out of field goal range. The awareness, the athleticism, it all plays a part in itself. The brain, the awareness, the IQ, the arm, and the legs is insane right now. I mean, it's absolutely crazy, man. And then that Jayden Daniels throw to Luke McCaffrey was insane. Then, I mean, he's already started sliding and getting down without taking contact the past couple of weeks. But today we actually saw like a really efficient baseball slide that looked natural, like he's been doing it his entire life. So thank goodness for that. That was another important development that he made this game, that you're seeing constant improvement from Jayden Daniels. Why I say, even after going 21 of 23 last week and setting some NFL records, he still has room to grow and get better. And one of them is his ability to slide. And you saw that today. He slid and got out of bounds a lot. Barely took any serious hits today. I'm so happy for him. Also, man, I mean, that flick to Luke McCaffrey, dog. I mean, that true clock drive when we were up 27-14, we're just trying to take the clock down, try to get this game over with. I mean, who knew we was going to go ahead and score 15 more points after that? But he made arguably the best throw of the game between him and Kyler Murray on that throw to Luke McCaffrey right there. With that, it was a slight overthrow. Luke McCaffrey made an amazing catch to bring it in. But like Jayden Daniels, like shifted, lean, flick of the wrist. People were talking about he didn't have arm strength coming out of the draft. I beg to differ wholeheartedly right now. Also, I mean, shouts out to Kevin Sheehan for saying, just in case if you believe the people who said he can't throw across the middle, and he's been killing people across the middle, man. That Terry McLaurin touchdown, the way he read the defense was insane. Shouts out to Ryan Fowler. He said, forget offensive rookie of the year. Jayden Daniels is playing at an MVP level right now, just 4 games into his career. Absolutely sensational stuff from the rookie signal caller. And I ask you right now, get in the comment section and let me know where you ranked Jayden Daniels as far as quarterbacks go. I know it's only 4 weeks, but I'm not gonna lie, he is a top 5 quarterback already. Even Nick Wright, Nick Wright, First Things First, all of those national media shows, they completely ignored our existence for the past how many years. And even last week after the Bengals game, he said Jayden Daniels is at worst a top 7 quarterback because he has his Mahomes mountain, and like he was tier 3, I think, with of course behind Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Pat Mahomes. Those are the only guys he was behind definitively, but he was on like the same tier as CJ Stroud and Matthew Stafford, and I think that was it. So like at worst, Nick Wright had him as a top 7 quarterback last week, but I already told y'all about that. I did a whole video on that last week. If you haven't checked that out, all of the national praise that Jayden Daniels got after that Bengals game. So where do you think they're gonna have him ranked after this game? I think undeniably you gotta put him in the top 5. I don't care if it's only 24 games. He's played like a top 5 quarterback this year. I would say he's only behind Josh Allen in MVP voting right now. I'm not going to lie. Now, let's get to some stats. Highest EPA per dropback for any rookie quarterback in weeks 1 through 4 since at least 2000. Jayden Daniels with a 0.32, having the best rookie start to a season of all time. I like I already said, he's already off to a better start than RG3 did in 2012 by far, and even better than what CJ Stroud did last year as a rookie. Jayden Daniels is ahead of where CJ Stroud was this time last year. Again, I agree with Kevin Sheehan. He's legit in the MVP conversation right now to start the season. Now, we do have better defensive tests coming up, because I would argue, I mean, maybe the Giants defense is tough, but I mean, I think this Browns defense, especially with Myles Garrett and those DBs that they have in Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, I think the Browns may be the best defense we would have faced up to this point in the season. And then the Ravens defense is also no joke. So I can't wait to see how he counter punches those better defenses. If we still look like this against those defenses, the sky's the limit. NFC East division winners, playoff, probably winning a game or two. We might as well just go ahead and start assuming NFC championship. If he looks like that, if he could put up 30 something points and be very efficient with no turnovers and scoring touchdowns against the Browns and the Ravens defense, y'all might as well go ahead and call it. We got this. This is the year we're trying to go all the way. I'm not saying we're Super Bowl contenders, but what is stopping us other than this defense? And then they even played well today, and maybe they're starting to catch their stride, like I said earlier. Maybe it just naturally they're going to get better as the season goes on, because they had no chemistry with each other. I mean, and again, like I said earlier, if anything, that interception in that game made me even more confident in him, man. I'm so excited. But Jayden Daniels, who completed 21 of 23 passes attempts for a single game rookie record of 91.3% completion percentage in week 3, is the first player in NFL history with a completion percentage of 85 or higher in consecutive games, minimum 15 attempts each game. And I don't think that's a rookie stat. That is an overall NFL stat, period, dog. This is insane. And when you're looking at like quarterback efficiency right now, Jayden Daniels is in a league of his own with only Josh Allen in the same league. But right now, Josh Allen has him on EPA per play, but completion percentage above expected, CPOE. Jayden Daniels clears Josh Allen by a significant margin as well. So there is a case to be made that Josh Allen and Jayden Daniels are playing like the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now, literally. Also, Jayden Daniels is the first quarterback in NFL history to have 2 consecutive games of at least 85% completion percentage or higher. He completed 48 of his 54 passes over the last 6 days. Again, we were down a day. We went from Monday night to Sunday and did that. RG3 has Washington's quarterback rushing touchdown record in a season, scored 7 times on the ground in 2012 in his rookie season. Jayden Daniels already has 4 rushing touchdowns in 4 games. That record looks like he's more than likely going to end up breaking that, just to let you know. Also, highest completion rate on throws 10 plus yards down the field by a rookie in weeks 1 through 4 since at least 2006. Jayden Daniels at 71%. We're not talking about a bunch of screens. We're not talking about a simple college offense where he's dinking and dunking. We're talking about 10 plus yard throws. Also, I mean, I think it's about time we start to have the discussion, dog. Is Jayden Daniels the first real franchise quarterback we've had in our history? Because just remember, we won 3 Super Bowls in like an 8-9 year span with 3 different quarterbacks. 3 Super Bowls, 3 different quarterbacks in a less than 2-year span. Is Jayden Daniels our best shot at finally having a franchise quarterback? You know, the type that the Packers just slip and fall into by accident, where they just have a quarterback that can lead their team to being Super Bowl contenders for 10 plus years straight. Do we possibly have that guy for the first time in Washington history in Jayden Daniels? Is he destined to be the best quarterback we've ever had in our franchise's history? Of course, time will tell. You got to win some Super Bowls to do that. But boy, oh boy, it's looking like a great start 4 weeks into his career. Also, shouts out to my boy Sonny Robinson, because he said Jayden Daniels looks like Tom Brady with legs, and it's hard to you know, basically go against that right now. I'm not saying he's Tom Brady, but we're not talking about a Lamar Jackson or like a RG3 or a guy that wants to use his legs first and foremost. We're talking about a guy that has great legs and knows how to use them when he needs to, but this is a pocket passer that dices you up, that just can run. He's not a runner that throws occasionally. He's a passer that runs occasionally. He is scary. Also, Shouts out to NFL because their Twitter account, that of course is their official Twitter account with 36.5 million followers, right? They have officially changed their Twitter header to Jayden Daniels. Right now, he is the face of the NFL, just like how we had Anthony Edwards as the face of the NBA talks. At a certain point, we're already having that with Jayden Daniels 4 weeks until the season because the NFL has already made him their header banner on Twitter. Stop playing with us, man. Now moving on to running backs. Let's get it. First of all, Brian Robinson was running right through people. I mean, breaking tackles. Don't try to tackle him with your arms. You're not going to bring him down. You got to square up and tackle him with your whole body. If you try to tackle him with your arms, he's breaking through that. And he was even running through people that tried to tackle him with their bodies. I mean, his yards after contact has to be insane right now. I can't wait to look up those numbers later on throughout the week. I'll present that to y'all at some point. But man, that opening drive was the Brian Robinson drive, y'all. I mean, even the fact that he caught a direct snap, wildcat, for 9 yards on a first down to make it 2nd and 1. Come on, and then he finished the drive with a touchdown, and he was the reason we even got that far down there, dog. He was ridiculous, man. On that opening drive, 5 out of the 9 plays went to B. Rob. I mean, just, you could already tell what Kliff Kingsbury had on his mind coming into this game. We're going to run it down the Cardinals' throats. And man, yeah, we do miss Austin Eckler, but this offense is next man up, and that's what I love about it, man. Shouts out to Jeremy McNichols, man, because he earned the first touchdown he earned. He broke some tackles. He carried a guy basically into the end zone. That guy stepped up big time in place of Austin Eckler. I can't wait to get him back, but we're next man up. And this offense is so efficient. This machine is so well ran that you could just plug in another running back and they're going to explode on offense just like Austin Eckler did. And then not only was Brian Robinson running his tail off, because the guy ran for 101 yards today on 21 carries. That's elite efficiency right there. And a touchdown with his longest run being 18. But also on that Jayden Daniels run to make it 24-7, that guy had an excellent block on the edge. Like if Brian Robinson doesn't block his tail off on that play, Jayden Daniels probably doesn't get that touchdown. He probably gets hit pretty hard as well. So that's a risky play call from Kliff Kingsbury, but he trusted his guys to make the play, and Brian Robinson blocked his tail off on that, man. And Jeremy McNichols was utilized way more in this game than I expected. I thought they would more so split the carries up amongst like a group of guys, maybe more reverses with Olamide, maybe more screens to other receivers, maybe the tight ends will get featured a little bit more. Nope, Jeremy McNichols came in and carried the Austin Eckler loss that we had. That hole that we had from Austin Eckler being out with a concussion, Jeremy McNichols basically just plugged right into that. I mean, on 4th and 1 to get 14 yards up to the Arizona 25-yard line, that one play was crazy. And again, going back to Brian Robinson before we move on from the running backs, man, I mean, 101 yards, that's his second 100-yard game this season already. I believe he's on the way to 1,000 yards this year for sure. I'm so happy for him. And speaking of being happy for anybody, moving on to the receivers, nobody is happier about what's going on right now than Terry McLaurin. Even as a fan that's been a fan of this team for so many years, I'm not gonna lie, my eyes started watering at a certain point in that game when Jayden Daniels made this ridiculous throw that, like, I was more so just happy for Terry. Like, I mean, I know it just has to be a huge weight off his shoulders to finally have an elite quarterback that will, from now on, now that he's learning how to dice up defenses from the pocket, Terry McLaurin will be an important factor on offense every game. He's just, I mean, that's 2 games in a row now that he has a receiving touchdown. Today he only finished with 7 catches for 52 yards, but I'm pretty sure that yardage is going to start going up more and more often. Shouts out to Olamide Zaccheaus being our leading receiver on 6 catches, 85 yards, with his longest being 27. He called 6 of his targets. Now Terry McLaurin was targeted 10 times. Once on that interception that Jayden Daniels threw, his only interception of his career, and then also one time it was like a little high and Terry McLaurin, it kind of went through his hands. And you always say, like, a receiver, if it touches both your hands, you got to catch it. But that was a really tough catch, I'm not going to lie. But Terry McLaurin had a great game today. Let's first of all talk about the fact that, like, on one run by Brian Robinson, it was Terry McLaurin as one of the lead blockers on the outside that allowed him to get it. John Bates had an excellent block on that play as well. I forgot exactly what time. It was like 3rd and 2. It may have been like the first quarter or sometime or something like that. But instead of it being a 5-yard run, which, I mean, it still would have gotten us the first down, but Terry McLaurin and John Bates are the reason that it turns into 20 yards. Again, I really want to emphasize that outside blocking by the receivers and tight ends and even the running backs, including Brian Robinson, was way better this week than it had been the first couple of weeks. And that is a big difference between a 4-yard run and a 20-yard run. Got to give Terry McLaurin his credit for that, because I did a film session and I talked about in that film session, we were trying to dive into why Terry McLaurin wasn't wasn't getting the ball as much as we'd hoped in the first 2 weeks. But while we were doing that film session, I noticed that Terry McLaurin was not blocking well on the perimeter for other guys when they had the ball, and now he is, thank goodness. But boy, Olamide Zaccheaus and Terry McLaurin were involved early and often. It was beautiful. And also, when you sit back and think about it, because Olamide Zaccheaus led our team in reception yards, right? When you think about it, we ultimately traded Jahan Dotson for a 3rd round pick and Olamide Zaccheaus. I mean, I'm telling you right now, the Adam Peters jug and finesse right now is insane. He's on a jug and finesse tour. Jug and finesse tour. What we got back for Sam Howell was more than I expected. And right now, if you really think about, because technically we picked up Olamide Zaccheaus as a free agent, but the Eagles just cut him. They felt like they didn't need him. Now look, Olamide Zaccheaus out there going for 85 yards receiving in one singular game. And basically, when you look back at it and when you add up all of the transactions, we basically traded Jahan Dotson, who's not getting the ball for the Eagles, for Olamide Zaccheaus and a 3rd round pick. Big time finesse, man. And that touchdown, bro, I mean, Lord have mercy, man. That Noah Brown, you got to give him credit for that as well. The touchdown I talked about earlier where Jayden Daniels ran the ball and Brian Robinson had a great block. Noah Brown was on the perimeter blocking well as there, man. And going back to Terry McLaurin, he is now 8th all-time in Washington history in receptions. He just passed Bobby Mitchell in this game. I can't wait to see if he can go even further than that, man. I'm so excited. So excited for Terry McLaurin. He deserves this, man. And then he made a great catch at a certain point in the game. He had a touchdown. It was amazing. Now, I do want to point out the fact that the refs called a terrible taunting call on Olamide Zaccheaus after a great sweet play call by Kingsbury to get him a 1st down out of the backfield. But then the ball didn't lie. Olamide Zaccheaus went and caught a 1st down for us 2 plays later, so he made up for it, even though that taunting penalty was so weak, because he just did the thing where, like, it's a 1st down, he just lets the ball roll. It just happened to be that a Cardinals player was in front of him, but I'm willing to bet money that if that Cardinals player wasn't in front of him, he still would have did the same exact celebration, so I thought that was stupid. And then again, Luke McCaffrey, like I mentioned earlier, had that ridiculous catch from Jayden Daniels for a 1st down. It was 2nd and 15. How about not just get a few yards to make it 3rd and easier? How about we just throw it to Luke McCaffrey, who was wide open over the middle of the field and picked up like 17 to 18 on the play? Like, how about that? Again, elite throw from Jayden Daniels, but also a great catch from Luke McCaffrey, because that was not an easy catch. It was at the tip of his fingertips, dog. And then also, man, again, Terry McLaurin, 2nd straight game getting a touchdown. Beautiful stuff there, dog. What was that play? That play was 3rd and goal from the 10-yard line. And instead of just running the ball and going for a field goal, Kliff Kingsbury trusted his offensive line, his receivers, and his quarterback to sit back there and read a defense, and then he delivered it to Terry McLaurin. A little late from Jayden Daniels, I'm not gonna lie. Threw it a little late, but still got it to Terry McLaurin right on time. That's all I care about, man. I mean, it's just crazy that Olamide Zaccheaus, who the Eagles refused to bring back, have more yards today alone than Jahan Dotson has had combined for the Eagles all season. And mind you, A.J. Brown and I believe Devonta Smith were both out for the Eagles today in that humiliating loss against the Buccaneers. It was beautiful to watch. I mean, for the Cowboys to barely beat the Giants lost because they lost to the Cowboys, and the Eagles to get whooped like that to the Buccaneers. We were the only team that actually really won this week, and we're leading the division right now. That's most important. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But, I mean, come on, Eagles. You gave away Olamide Zaccheaus for free. You traded a 3rd round pick for Jahan Dotson. And Olamide got more yards in one game, 85, than Jahan Dotson has all season combined right now, with your top 2 receivers not playing. That's insane stuff, man. So shouts out to this offense, man. Terry McLaurin has recorded touchdowns in back-to-back games for the first time since 2020. That's ridiculous. Olamide Zaccheaus caught 6 passes for 85 yards, of course. Noah Brown had 3 catches for 26 yards, and Luke McCaffrey had 1 catch for 17 yards. But I'm telling you, those numbers don't do them justice. The way they blocked on the outside, the way they were getting open, but just sometimes another guy just happened to be more open, and they caught the ball. Those guys had better games than their stats show. I don't care what you say. Then tight end wise, Zach Ertz had 3 catches for 22 yards, but again, another guy that had a bigger impact than the stat sheet shows, because I believe even one of those catches was like a 1st down catch, and another one was like to get us close to the 1st down, and then he caught that 2-point conversion, which does not show up on the stat sheet. And that 2-point conversion play was crazy, because Jayden Daniels threw it before Zach Ertz was even open. How do you stop an offense, a quarterback that can do that, where he's throwing the ball to the receiver before the receiver is even open? That's literally unguardable. Shouts out to Zach Ertz for keeping his feet in bounds in the back of the end zone too. But man, John Bates blocked his tail off today. He was the lead blocker on a couple of our big runs. If you go back and look at some of those big runs we had, you will see John Bates at the very front of it, just completely escorting a DB out of the play, man, straight to the locker room. Also, shouts out to Ben Sinnott, man, because he had a great block for a touchdown as well. That first Jeremy McNichols touchdown where he had to break that tackle to get in at the end, Ben Sinnott had a great seal block on the outside. So Ben Sinnott contributed. He also had a really good special teams tackle as well. Our tight ends were hitting on special teams today. I don't know what that was. Shouts out to Larry Izzo, our special teams coordinator, for getting those guys involved. And again, Zach Ertz, that 2-point conversion to put us up 35-14 was crazy, bro. I mean, to throw that before he was even actually open is insane from Jayden Daniels, but great work by Zach Ertz as well. Now the offensive line, and I'm probably going to dedicate a whole video to them specifically later on this week, so I'm not going to spend too much time on them right now, but this offensive line deserves several applauses right now, man. I mean, the interior, every time we wanted to run it up the middle, unless it was just obvious, like just super obvious, we would only get 1 yard. It'd be 1st and 10 and 2nd and 9. But even then, it wasn't a loss of yardage. That interior offensive line was great. The exterior pass blocking was great. I mean, even the edge blocking from the exterior as well was insane, man. We put on a blocking clinic today. And that was, again, receivers, tight ends, running backs. But the offensive line, most importantly, man. I would even say that the offensive line was dominant today. I'm not saying this offensive line is an elite offensive line yet. Maybe I got to see a larger sample size. But if we're going to go ahead and start believing in hyperbole with Jayden Daniels, and we can make an argument that he's already a top 5 quarterback, arguably a top 2 quarterback in the MVP race right now, is it safe to say that this offensive line is one of the best in the NFL? Because you can't deny that they haven't played like a top 5 offensive line these last 2 weeks. They have played like an elite offensive line 2 weeks in a row. Is this who they actually are right now? We got to see. I mean, Jayden's jersey barely had any stains on it at some point in the game. I noticed in like the 4th quarter, the guy's jersey was pretty clean, man, which means he wasn't, not only was he not sacked, he wasn't sacked at all today, even though a couple of those he had to break on his own. I mean, that's just the Jayden Daniels effect, though. That's why you draft a dual threat quarterback. But even outside of the fact that he wasn't sacked, he also wasn't hit much either. Because even if there's not a sack, if you're hit throwing the ball because an offensive lineman gives up pressure late, now your jersey is stained because you're on the ground from a late hit. He didn't even have to really deal with that this game, man. I mean, I would say that this game against Arizona was probably the most dominant offensive line performance from a Washington team in years. Like, I mean, the Bengals game was great. This one was even better. At this trajectory, we're going to have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. I don't know how it happened. I don't know what's going on, but it is ridiculous. From run blocking to pass blocking, insane. And if they can keep that up, I don't see why Jayden Daniels can't keep up what he's doing. Now, if there's a game where the offensive line is struggling, hopefully they don't struggle against an elite edge rusher like Myles Garrett. If they don't struggle, I don't see why Jayden Daniels would. I don't see why Jayden Daniels would suddenly just forget how to play football if the offensive line is giving him that much time to back there to do what he wants to do, and the run blocking is elite as well. Brian Robinson, he's breaking a lot of tackles, but a lot of the times he's not even getting touched till he's already pretty far down the line of scrimmage and about to break out for like another 4, 8, 12, 15-yard run. Is beautiful. Also, at a certain point, Nick Allegretti came out of the game with an ankle injury and was pronounced out, but later on in the locker room, he had x-rays. He said they were negative, and he described it as minor. He feels good now. It was just a situation where we were up by so much that it was no reason for him to even stay out there for real. So just to let you know, Commanders offensive line pass blocking grades from today. Brandon Coleman, he had an 86.6. Cornelius Lucas had an 87.7, which was the best, but Brandon Coleman second best. So your 2 left tackles today, technically Cornelius Lucas was a starter, but Brandon Coleman played a lot today as well. Those are your 2 best pass protectors. Andrew Wiley second with an 84.4. So your 2 tackles had your highest pass blocking grades. But Nick Allegretti, your left guard, 84.1. And then Samuel Cosmi and Tyler Biadasz actually had your lowest pass blocking grades today. Samuel Cosmi with a 72.7, and I do remember him getting a holding penalty that frustrated me, but I still felt like he had a good game overall. But he's not playing at the all-pro level that I expected. I'm surprised that other guys are having better games than him right now. But that, I guess that's a good thing. That's just elite stuff. That's why the offensive line is so good. And then Tyler Biadasz had a 48.8 pass blocking grade, which I'm surprised by. I don't remember him being that bad, but I didn't really notice it. Just to let you know, Andrew Wiley had 39 pass blocking snaps today. 0 pressures allowed. I told y'all this is the type of guy that once he gets things going, he gets into a rhythm with blocking, he's actually not a bad blocker. He's an above average blocker. Like I said, once we got to like November last year, that chemistry to him, he and Samuel Cosmi had, Samuel Cosme was playing at an all-pro level. Andrew Wiley was playing at an above-average right tackle level, to be completely honest with you. And it seems like instead of it taking until November this time around, now it only took till end of September for Andrew Wiley to finally find his step, find his rhythm. And I think we're good to go on the offensive line for at least this season. And also, I want to point out the fact that according to Pro Football Focus, we had 3 Commanders offensive linemen in the top 5 passing grades out of the entire NFL in week 4. Not just this Cardinals game, I'm talking about the entire NFL. You had Trent Williams number 1, Orlando Brown number 2, Cornelius Lucas 3, Brandon Coleman 4, Andrew Thomas 5th, and then Andrew Wiley tied for 5th. So you had 3 Commanders offensive linemen with the highest pass, 3 of the 5 highest pass blocking grades this weekend. But of course, the Ravens and Bills are playing right now. Then you have a couple of Monday night games, so maybe some offensive linemen in those games de-rank them and push them down. But so far, from Thursday night to 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. game slates, we have 3 top 5 pass blocking offensive linemen this week. And again, like I said earlier, if I had to give one game ball, it'd probably be O-line, man. No sacks allowed. Even though Jayden Daniels had to run from like 2 or 3 possible ones himself, that Jayden Daniels is not able to be that efficient if the offensive line isn't giving him that ridiculous pocket right now. That's why some people are pointing to the offensive line as to why they feel like Jayden Daniels is a better situation than Caleb Williams. But again, I broke down some advanced stats to prove why that doesn't matter. Jayden Daniels, even if they had the same exact offensive line, I showed y'all advanced stats just a couple of days ago to show that Jayden Daniels is still the better quarterback regardless, but I'm not going to dive into that right now. We're here to celebrate this win, not focus on Caleb Williams and the Bears right now. And then shouts out to Dan Quinn, because in his press conference, he said to have a big rushing performance with over 200 yards and no sacks, that's a big guy's kind of day. And I completely agree, first of all, but John Combs says something I completely agree with as well. He says scheme, play calling matters. Washington improved the interior of the offensive line with Biotish and Allegretti, but the scheme and play calling and quarterback helps a lot too. I feel like it's all a big joint effort from the entire team. And then Andrew Wiley was interviewed in the locker room after the game. He said, we're just having a effing blast up front right now. And when guys are having fun and playing well and like enjoying it while they're doing it, you know that they're playing very well. This whole team is on a different high, but it's not the type of high where they start to lose focus, where they start to get over themselves and get too big of a head. It's more so, hey, football is actually fun again. Like, let's go be great, man. I'm having fun playing for you, playing with you, playing side by side, beside you, all of that type of stuff. And that's just bringing up our team morale and making us play better at the end of the day. Now moving on to defense. Boy, this defense came to play today. Now, you saw flashes of the defense showing some potential against the Bengals, even though overall they still allowed, 32 points, 33 points, some crazy amount of points, which wasn't healthy, but they did the best they could at times. You know what I'm saying? You saw improvement. The week 3 defense against the Bengals, even though they still allowed a lot of points, looked better than what the defense looked like against the Giants and Buccaneers overall, even though they allowed less points against the Giants. Not gonna lie, but looking at the all 22, you saw there were improvements. And then suddenly they took a big step today. If you would have told me before the game the defense only allowed 14 points, I would have told you, yeah, we blowed them out. Because I know they can't stop our offense. I'm already that confident in the offense. But our defense holding the Cardinals to 14 points, I don't think a lot of people expected that. I don't think anybody expected us to hold them to 14. And great job by them, that 1 4th down play. We're going to get there. I don't even want to get ahead of myself, man. But they opened up the game with a 9-play, 55-yard touchdown drive where we stopped them on 3rd down, but then they went for it on 4th down, 4th and 1. And that was like an impossible thing to cover for Noah Benogany. Marvin Harrison is a great receiver, already considered that for a reason, and we got to focus on making sure we don't allow them to just run the ball right up the middle on 4th and 1 right there on the goal line. So we were pretty susceptible to that. So I give the Cardinals credit for even making that play call. Great throw, great catch beats good coverage every time. That's just what it is. But man, we just started the game off bad. Top receivers against the Commanders this season. Week 1, Mike Evans, 5 catches, 61 yards, 2 touchdowns. Malik Neighbors, 10 catches and a bunch of yards, 1 touchdown. I think 127 yards. Jamar Chase, 6 receptions, 118 yards and a touchdown. And then Marvin Harrison scored in the opening drive, just like Jamar Chase scored in the opening drive against the Bengals. Again, 2 games in a row on the road, Monday night, then short week on Sunday. Sunday, down 7-0 against the home team is insane stuff to come back from. Shouts out to them. Also, at a certain point in this game, points per drive allowed by the Commanders defense, 3.95 after that initial first touchdown drive by the Cardinals. And then points per drive allowed by the Rams defense, who are second worst in the NFL, was 2.95. So we were the worst defense in the NFL by far up to that point after we allowed that opening game drive. But I'm pretty sure the data is it looks a little bit better for us now after the way we finished, only allowing 14 points all game. Also, hey man, the defense, the first time they forced a punt, I was scared. I was like, when did we get like this? I mean, it was the first quarter we forced the punt, man. Shouts out to Frankie Louvu for the second down run and stop on the run play, and then an inaccurate third down throw by Kyler Murray helped us out a lot as well. That was great defense. And then we got to a certain point in the game, we forced 3 straight punts from the defense. That's the first time all year we forced 3 straight punts, man. Oh my lord. And it was a drive where Frankie Louvu and Dorrance Armstrong just took over, dog. I mean, just took over, got a sack on Kyler Murray on second down, put them behind the chains, and they never recovered, dog. And then, man, shouts out to the defense too, because when Jayden Daniels threw that interception, which was essentially a punt because he threw it so far down the field anyway, so it's not like it was about to hurt us that much anyway, but Washington's defense forced an immediate 3-and-out to give them the ball back and pretty much made the interception not even really matter. And shouts out to them, man, because they definitely shut me up today. Now, I've been one of the people that's been optimistic. Like, I don't think we're going to be an historically bad defense all year. I think this is just, we had bad chemistry. This coaching staff's trying to fill out the players. The players are trying to fill out the coaching staff and understand what they exactly want them to do. There are a lot of chemistry and communication problems right here, a lot of nuance problems. I mean, I feel like talent is a problem as well, which is why you have the draft and free agency. I feel like we're going to go heavy on defense in the 2025 offseason, no matter how we finish this season. I just feel like, honestly, that's probably where we're going. But I feel like a lot of it was also chemistry, communication, and guys like Mike Sanderstill and Forbes have to get better. They're still young players. Forbes missed like half of last season. He's still essentially like as a rookie right now as far as like games played. Mike Sanderstill is a true rookie. He's still learning. Noah Igbenogany has been like, I think usually a career backup, even though he is a veteran. He's not used to playing as many snaps he's playing right now. So all of these guys are learning, man. And we're still missing, again, Jordan McGee and FL Bottom. When we get them back, I think that's going to be a huge boost to our team. But shouts out to the defense for shutting everybody up today, man. I don't think anybody expected them to hold the Cardinals to 14 points, man. I don't think anybody did, man. But the defense did allow the Cardinals to convert a 4th and 12 that one time to Marvin Harrison. Great throw, great catch. I more so blame Joe Witt Jr. for that one, I'm not gonna lie, because why did we play so soft there? I think you should have played man coverage and just forced Kyler Murray to make a great throw. They made it too easy for him there, so I'm not gonna blame the overall defense. I think that was more of a Joe Witt Jr. thing. Also, that one time, and then after that 4th and 2, they ran up tempo offense and they ended up scoring a touchdown on a play where we only had 10 defenders on the field. And Dan Quinn tried to call a timeout there because, first of all, the 4th and 12 killed us. We were just gassed from the rest of that, so we were just tired. You could just tell the linebackers and DBs were moving slower. The defensive line didn't look explosive. They were tired. The up tempo offense killed us that drive where they ended up getting only their second touchdown in the game to end up scoring 14 points, man. I mean, they called us off guard at the perfect time to do that. That 4th and 12, you could tell the defense was ready to get off the field, and then that 4th and 12 just killed us like fatigue-wise. That was just like, oh my lord, we got to defend them even more. And then they switched to the up to ball. Again, Dan Quinn tried to call the timeout with us only having 10 defenders on the field to also give us a little breather and a break, but for some reason the timeout wasn't able to be called. I guess the refs didn't notice. I don't know. But man, if you tell me right now that our defense can play like this for the rest of the season, like at least give me average, I'm telling you, we can win some games this season. We can go to the playoffs. We can win this division, man. And honestly, if I had to pick one stat from this game that we just truly dominated, because even though we ran for 216 yards, they still ran for 181. So we still outran them. But if I had to pick a stat where we just dominated, where we were literally the better team by far, were third down conversions. We converted 9 of 12. Shouts out to our offense. And we only allowed 4 of 11 to be converted. Shouts out to our defense, which is why I'm bringing it up right now. Now moving on to the defensive line. Man, Johnny Newton was making plays and hustling out there early. He had a couple of plays where he had to like run down a running back 8 yards past the line of scrimmage, and that's something he's been doing so far all season in the limited snaps that he's gotten. I like that. Then Dorrance Armstrong finally had a sack for the first time this season, a full sack. He had like a half sack, I think, against the Bengals, but he got his first full sack, one that he earned by himself. That was the 25th sack of his career and his first full sack of the season, but then he ended up getting a second one, which puts him at 26 sacks in his career. And boy, when we needed it the most, Cardinals going for it on 4th down to score before the halftime, they tried us. I said that during my live stream. Make sure you pull up to my live streams because I'm giving play-by-play analysis, and I'm you know me, I'm gonna be funny. You know, we gotta joke, we gotta craft, we gotta laugh to stop from crying sometimes. So we're laughing no matter the situation. That's just how my streams go. From between the chat, me, everybody, we're always laughing. And I really pointed out the fact that they tried us on that play, man, live, because instead of just kicking a field goal right there, getting some easy 3 points, they ended up walking away with no points, and then they gave us enough time to go down the field and kick a field goal, which is right, like, that was when the Jayden Daniels telling the Cardinals defense, y'all ain't effing with me right now type of situation. But either way, they tried us, and Dorrance Armstrong made them pay. Instead of walking away with a humble 3 points to go into halftime, because it could have been it should have been 14-10 if they would have kicked that field goal. But then they didn't get the field goal. They stayed at 7, and then we ended up getting the field goal because of it, because we started with pretty good field positioning, and that ended up being 17-7, I believe, at halftime. So shouts out to them for that 6-point swing going into halftime, which helped us big time. But shouts out to Dorrance Armstrong, most importantly, for making them pay. Just to let you know, Dorrance Armstrong, weeks 1 through 3, has 0 sacks, technically like a half a sack, 1 quarterback hit, that's it. 0 tackles for losses, and only 4 tackles total, weeks 1 through 3. How about just in the first half alone, he had 2 sacks, 2 quarterback hits, 2 tackles for losses, and 2 total tackles just in the first half of this game. And just to let you know, Dorrance Armstrong recorded his first multi-sack game today for the first time since week 1 of the 2023 Dallas season, where they destroyed the New York Giants. He finished the game with 1.5 sacks and a forced fumble. Stop playing with Dorrance Armstrong. He stepped up big time today. I would say he technically had 2 sacks today. And then at a certain point later on in the game, Daron Payne and Bobby Wagner combined for a sack, and that was a great play by Daron Payne. They forced it to be 3rd and 34 for the Cardinals, and I think we ended up forcing them to punt it after that, and I think we even scored a touchdown right after that. And that was beautiful, because as they were lining up to punt, before they punted it, the stadium was super loud. It was beautiful. Like, we completely took over the stadium, man. Shouts out to Bajan Todd, who was there. He said this is a game happening right now in Arizona. Washington fans are cheering loudly. Arizona fans are booing because of how well Washington is playing. I'm not used to this. That's literally how he tweeted it. Like, he's not like, I'm not used to this. This is a normal type of thing. And then Jonathan Allen joined the sack party, got his first of the season, and that was the 4th sack we had all game. And with that sack, Jonathan Allen recorded his 40th sack of his career, and has now moved into a tie with Brian Arakpo for 6th all time in the franchise history in sacks. So Jonathan Allen, can we get more of that? I mean, both of y'all, Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne, y'all easily had y'all best games today all season. Can we please continue that one momentum? And I also feel like there's no coincidence that the defense had their best performance all season when Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen have their best performance. We need that from y'all consistently. And just to finish up with Dorrance Armstrong, in just 19 pass rush snaps, y'all, 19 pass rush snaps, Dorrance Armstrong, 5 pressures, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 4 run stops, a 90.6 Pro Football Focus grade, and an 86.8 pass rush grade. That was his breakout game. That was the game where we look back. If Dorrance Armstrong finishes this season as a double-digit sack guy, and he's one of our edge rushers of the future, the guy that we build this defensive line around, that's the game that started it. Moving on to the linebackers, I mean, at a certain point, Bobby Wagner to start the game, because especially that opening drive, bruh, Bobby Wagner was the only defensive player it seemed like he came to play on that opening drive, because he made some significant plays. And then the defense started to put the clamp on the Cardinals soon after that, and Bobby Wagner at a certain point in that game looked like the best player on the field. That's until Frankie Louvu took over, because at a certain point he was flying and hitting everybody, man. He was playing well against the run. He was getting after Kyler Murray on blitzes. That was the best game of the season from both him and Bobby Wagner. Easily, dog. He had an elite play in coverage where he was covering a receiver on a short route. I think it was like second and 1, and he like forced a pass incompletion that would have been a first down. He almost had an interception there as well. It was like 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and then afterwards we ended up scoring a touchdown. But if you want to know, go look at that play. It was like 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It was like a 2nd and 1. He forced 3rd and 1 with elite coverage. I think it was 2nd and 1. Yeah. And then we also had that forced fumble from Frankie Louvu as well, dog. And that was a play where like they were moving the ball so easily against us. It just seemed like we couldn't get a stop that possession. We just could not stop them. And then Frankie Louvu came in to peanut punch that ball out. And you could just tell that this coaching staff is teaching that. They're coaching that. By the Benjamin St. Juste forced fumble that he had against the Giants, and then Frankie Louvu doing it against the Cardinals, you could tell this coaching staff is preaching that. If you get beat, and they get past you, if you're able to catch up, you go for that fumble. And they are doing that. They're living and breathing, and shouts out to the coaching staff for really getting that through their heads. Also, I want to point out the fact that Bobby Wagner finished with a team leading 15 tackles. At a certain point in that game, Jeremy Chin was leading our team in tackles, but at a certain point, Bobby Wagner surpassed him. He had a team leading 15. He also recorded half a sack with, I believe, Dorrance Armstrong. And Bobby Wagner now has 1,734 total tackles in his career, has passed Zach Thomas for 4th most tackles in NFL history. And those are total tackles, just to let you know. Moving on to the corners, Forbes that had a pretty good game today. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much of a big Forbes hater you are. And I'm not saying that, you know, it's good that we picked Emmanuel Forbes over Christian Gonzalez, but give the kid his credit for coming back from injury, a thumb injury, and playing as well as he did today, especially in coverage, but also against the run. Remember that one big Jeremy Chin hit against the run where he got around the corner and laid a big hit on James Conner? That was because Emmanuel Forbes did an excellent job in setting the edge, which allowed Jeremy Chin the freedom to go make that hit without having to overthink it. And then he had great coverage in times. Now, he did get beat once, but he was like a step away from it being a pick 6 versus being a catch. So, I mean, just one step away. Emmanuel Forbes, I believe that he can develop and become a one-step quicker corner. Again, that would have been a pick 6 instead of a reception if he was just one step sooner. So I believe in Emmanuel Forbes to get better. Will he ever live up to being a first-round pick? I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying he'll grow into a Pro Bowl or anything like that, but he played well today, and he deserves the credit for that, dog. He really does. Also, shouts out to Emmanuel Forbes because he was all business today. Somebody pointed it out during the game that even in that big-time coverage play he made down the field, and I think right after that, I think we had like a run stop or a sack, and then they ended up punting because of it, and I think we scored after that. So Emmanuel Forbes deserved a lot of credit for the defense getting off the field on that possession, but he didn't even like celebrate afterwards, from what I remember. I think he did like a nice little subtle celebration, but he didn't do no big standing by himself celebrating for like a whole 5 seconds. I feel like he showed up to this game straight business, and thank goodness. Also, shouts out to Nick Ackridge because he tweeted sometime in the middle of the game, "I can't wait to watch film on the secondary tomorrow." And he said, "I'm not sure if I've ever tweeted that before about the Washington Commanders." Moving on to the secondary. Oh, before we move on to the secondary, shouts out Noah Igbenogany. I know he got beat for that touchdown earlier in the game, but he had pretty good coverage. And Benjamin St. Juste, I didn't really notice him that much. I saw him get beat a couple of times, most notably the very first offensive play for the Cardinals, the very first play outside of special teams for the Cardinals. It was a 9-yard slant to Marvin Harrison. I was like, oh Lord, this is about to be a long game for the defense, but I didn't really notice him the rest of that. And then Mike Sanford still made a couple of good tackles. So secondary is just always one of those ones that's hard to react to immediately after the game. I gotta wait for the all 22 footage to come out to really know how well they played. But from what I saw, I felt like the corners had a pretty good game, at least by far the best game they've played all season. But I said coming into this game, this is not the same receiving core we've gone against all season so far. So it's a mix of the secondary played better, and also we just didn't have to deal with as elite of a receiving core as we've dealt with the first few weeks. Also, moving on to safeties, Jeremy Chin, again, like I said earlier, was leading our team in tackles at halftime at a certain point in this game. Both solo tackles and total tackles. He was everywhere at a certain point. Also, I don't know what happened, but my boy Tyler Owens was questionable to return with a shoulder injury at some point at like 5:15 p.m. Then later on at 6:06 p.m., people were talking about he was questionable to return with an ankle injury. So I guess my boy Tyler Owens is a little banged up. Don't expect to see him outside of special teams anytime soon, but I'm not surprised there. I'm rooting for him. And then Quan Martin, I noticed he did make a couple of good tackles, but I felt like he also allowed a play in coverage from what I remember, but I gotta remember what it was. Again, secondary is hard to talk about immediately after the game. I gotta watch the all 22. Now moving on to special teams, man. I know Tress Way was confused and flabbergasted when they called his name to go out there and punt. I know he was probably chilling, probably sipping on some tea, and was like, wait, I still have a job? I still punt? I mean, Lord have mercy. And then when he went out there, the punt was beautiful. That was an elite punt to go from not punting for like 2.5 weeks to deliver to the first time you punt again. And it's that elite of a punt, just shows who Tress Way is, man. That is an elite punter right there. I mean, through and through. I mean, first time since week 1, it went for 51 yards, only a 4-yard return, and it was a great hit by the special teams to go cover it. Also, Tress Way said after the game, quote, Terry looked over at me in the fourth quarter and we just kind of gave a high five, and he goes, man, this is fun. And I go, this is a lot of fun. Unquote. And the reason I bring that up from Tress Way is that these are two veterans that have been around this franchise for multiple regimes, even going back to the end of Jay Gruden, the entire Ron Rivera, and now this. They know what it feels like to be on this team when we suck. We as fans know. Maybe some of these other guys don't know. Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louisville, Austin Eckler, a lot of these guys just got here. Jayden Daniels just got here. They don't know. But these guys are looking at each other reminiscing like, man, we've come from some really hard times, thank goodness. Shouts out to Ben Sinnott. Even though he did, outside of blocking, again, he had a great block at least one time for a big run play for us on offense. But outside of that, he hasn't been much of a receiver yet. Outside of, I think he may have had one catch, unless that was Zach Ertz from the underneath throw I was talking about earlier. But he contributed. I think he had one catch, which was like when Jayden Daniels went through like 4 reads and he was the 5th. I think that may have been Ben Sinnott. It could have been Zach Ertz. I don't remember. But then he also had a great block in the run game as well. But then he had a big time tackle on special teams on the first Tress Way punt since week 1. When Tress Way made that elite punt, that was Ben Sinnott that went down there and laid that big hit. Also, moving on to Austin Cyborg, to be perfect so far this season is nothing short of ridiculously impressive, dog. He's made every PAT and every field goal, including a 45-yarder before halftime and then a 38-yarder in the third quarter. And then even after a stupid penalty from the refs on a Jeremy McNichol taunting penalty, where all he did was just shoot one arrow in the crowd real quick and turn around, he still even made that really long PAT. I call him Austin Cyborg. Y'all call him Austin Cybert. I call him Austin Cyborg because he got to have a little bit of robot in him to be that automatic, dog. Got to be a little bit of AI programming in there. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I call him Austin Cyborg, man. And shouts out to Adam Peters because he did say that they had their eye on him since the joint practices, I believe, against the Jets. And then when he became available, they pounced on it. It was either the Jets or the Dolphins. Also, man, again, like I mentioned earlier, I don't know what the plan was from Larry Izzo this game, but he unleashed our tight ends on special teams. They made some plays down the field, and I'm really happy to see it, dog. And now moving on, before we get up out of here, first half wise, I have a couple of outside opinions I want to give, and then end of game wise, I have some outside opinions, and then I also have some random opinions that I want to give you some interesting, notes and facts to stats to even go off of as well. So first half wise, Kevin Sheehan said first half Washington has the better quarterback. Commanders have better offense. The defense played well after first drive. First down defense excellent after first drive. 4 0-yard plays, 124 yards rushing, 5.9 per, 5 of 6 on third down, 1 punt, 1 interception, and still up 10 getting the ball to start the second half. And then Mason Kinahan said his first half thoughts. Mistakes happen, but a great bounce back from JD5 after the pick. How about this pass rush to getting to Kyler a ton, which has helped the secondary so far. Overall, this defense is flying from sideline to sideline. Shout out Luvu, Armstrong, and Chin, among others. And welcome back to the football game, Tress Way. And then after the game ended, shouts out to Chad Ryan. He said, shout out to Dan Quinn, Dave Gardy, Brandon Sosna, and the entire operations team. Going straight from Phoenix to Cincinnati was clearly the correct move. It got them adjusted to the time zone and everything. And Washington looks fresh and ready to play today, even on a short week where they were down a day compared to the Cardinals, who had a full week. A gamble that paid off massively. I completely agree with the organization coming together to make that decision. Also, shouts out Skip Bayless. He tweeted, Jayden Daniels and Dan Quinn's revitalized Commanders are starting to look like a threat to win the NFC East. Let them know. Then you also have Colin Cowherd. He said the Washington Commanders being the greatest offense in modern football history by a long shot comes as a surprise to me. It comes as a surprise to a lot of us, even as Commanders fans. But to say that we're the best offense by a long shot in all of football right now, love to hear it. Now, before we go, I also have some random updates. First of all, again, I want to remind you that they just did all of that on the road on a short week. I feel like that should not be overestimated. Also, shouts out to the computer cowboy, because he has a chart, which again, is like defensive EPA per play and then offensive EPA per play. Of course, defensively, if you're at the bottom, you're terrible. Even though they were way better today, we're still at the bottom. So we're at the bottom right because our offense is the best in the NFL and our defense is the worst in the NFL. So we're as far bottom right as you could get. He tweeted the Commanders are a beautiful 3-1 team, probably the most exciting team to watch because they have a lot of offense and not a lot of defense. Even though today they showed some defense and even got some turnovers as a defense, they forced 2 fumbles. Also, shouts out to Disco for this one. The Commanders have a 3-1 record at the near quarter mark of the season, 1 division win, 1-0, and 2 conference wins at 2-1. That's going to matter in the long run when we're trying to figure out who's going to make these playoffs. Also, shouts out to Domo8186 on Twitter because he has a picture of himself in Commanders gear, and he said, my terms have finally been met. I can come back to the Commanders. Dan Snyder sold, real GM in front office, and a legitimate quarterback. That's all he needed to be sold back, and that's what a lot of people are saying. They are returning to the Commanders fandom, especially with Dan Snyder finally selling the team. Also, man, shouts out to Miss Tisler for this one. This is the first time Washington has ever won back-to-back games, both on the road, while scoring 80 combined points between both games. And that's it. There's no since this time, first times, no. This is the first time in Washington history that we've won back-to-back games on the road and scored a combined 80 points between those 2 games. That's it. That's the end of the stat. Also, again, I already told you about the 42 points most since week 11 of 2016. I told you the 30-plus points in consecutive games since week 10 and 11 of the 2017 season. Then the first time we scored 30-plus points in consecutive games and won both games since week 16 and 17 of the 2015 season. Also, this is the last time we have scored 38 points in consecutive games since week 11 and 12 of the 1991 season. Again, remember what happened at the end of that 1991 season. And also, Washington is 3-1 for the first time since 2011. Before the RG3 season. Remember, the RG3 season was not off to a hot start. We just went on like a 7-game win streak to end the season, but it started slow. Just look at what Jayden is doing right now and see what we could do with this team right now. I'm so excited. Also, listen to this. The Commanders have an elite quarterback, a great offensive line, a great offensive coordinator, and an automatic kicker that makes everything. Since when? If you would have told me that before this season even started, I would have looked at you crazy. Which brings me to the point that, hey, watch out. I know it's a long time from now, but we are going to attract free agents. I'm telling y'all, we already were a big free agency destination before all of this success on the field. This was purely just based off of what we had on paper, who we brought in as front office and coaching staff, while we were the best free agency destination already in free agency, just based off the fact that we signed the most contracts but didn't even spend the most money. So we were the most efficient contract signing team in the NFL, and we signed the most free agents in the entire NFL in the free agency period back in late March. Imagine what we're going to look like in free agency, how many people are going to want to come here and get paid less money to do it, just off of the fact that we're a franchise quarterback, let alone a very stable and certified coaching staff. I mean, I'm so excited. I know we have some weaknesses on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think we're going to have to worry about that too much because not only are we going to be able to get some great talent, we may be able to get them for cheaper than normal because they want to come be a part of something great here. Looks like what we're building in a Super Bowl contender. I mean, even just how the Texans felt the need to go ahead and trade for Danielle Hunter and things like that, to go get Stephon Diggs. Those are the type of moves that we'll be making this upcoming offseason if we keep on this same trajectory and we look like real contenders to do some damage. Also, just to let you know, and I'm pretty sure you've already heard this from somebody else, and I think I mentioned it earlier in this video, but we are now leading the NFC East like definitively. It's not like, okay, we have the same amount of wins and losses as somebody else, but we have more conference wins. So no tiebreakers. We are 3-1. The Cowboys are 2-2. Eagles are 2-2, and the Giants are 1-3. We are winning the NFC East right now definitively. Also, we're the only team in the division with a positive point differential right now. Just to let you know that as well. You know, don't forget that too. Also, shouts out to Disco for bringing up a really good point. It's a very real possibility that the Eagles, Giants, and Cowboys will have new head coaches next season with the way things are going right now. And boy, for all of them to hit a reset button and we're the only consistent like actual good, well-structured, well-ran team in the NFC East, we can have this division on lock for a while. Shouts out to Magic Johnson, because after the game he tweeted, with back-to-back road wins, we are heading home next week. I want to see Northwest Stadium sold out, full of Commanders fans and as loud as possible. I think that can help us big time, especially with forcing the bad Browns offense to commit some errors like false starts, some delay of game penalties because they can't hear and they can't communicate with each other. So I completely agree. Also, I think it's time for that week 6 matchup between Jayden Daniels and Lamar Jackson, or you want to say the Commanders versus the Ravens. Let's go ahead and flex that to a primetime game, because everybody's going to want to watch that. There's no way they keep that at 1 p.m. like it is right now, from what I believe. I think that is a 1 p.m. scheduled game right now. Yep, it sure is. And it would take a lot of work to move it to 4 p.m. and it would take even more work to flex it to 8 p.m. But I think you find a way to make it happen. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff on that like button, stiff on the subscription button, stiff on the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinion video just like this one. Please do not leave this video without stiff arming that like button. I appreciate all of y'all that pulled up to the live stream, left likes, contributed in the chat with a lot of important information, funny opinions, everything, all the debates we had. Shouts out to everybody that called into the call-in show, and most importantly, shouts out to everybody that donated to the Cash App and the Super Chat directly to the YouTube channel. I really appreciate y'all. And of course, let me know in the comment section if you agree or disagree with any of my points. If there are any things I missed, like especially the secondary, if you notice some things that I didn't notice or anywhere, Jayden Daniels, anybody, let me know in the comment section, because again, I try my best to read and reply to as many comments as possible. And y'all may be teaching me something. That's the reason I do these videos, because I want to become a smarter fan as well. Just because I'm the one with the camera doesn't make me the smartest man in the world. I more than likely missed a lot of things from this game. So let me know if there's anything that I didn't talk about in this video that I should have talked about, and make sure you provide some stats, some evidence with it and everything like that, because I really appreciate it, like for real. I really mean that. So again, make sure you do not leave this video without leaving a like. And again, if you need to come back and check up on this channel twice a day, because I'm doing 2 videos a day, I really appreciate y'all. Tomorrow may be a really busy day for me, so I may at least try to get 1 done. I still may be able to get 2 done. And if you're not a channel member, go become one, because we're getting these film sessions done and they're exclusive to channel members only. Even if you're just a rookie sponsor, you have access. You just got to be a family StreetScore. You just got to be a StreetScore family member. That's it, a channel member, and you get all of those. Appreciate y'all. I'm gonna just let my voice rest for like the next few hours. Probably just go ahead and head to bed as soon as I'm done with this. I need my voice back. Throat hurts, starting to get a headache, but I don't care, because I'm on the high of feeling like my team is really ready to go out there and win for real. We are a competent franchise, and again, like I said earlier, if the other 3 teams in this division end up needing new head coaches after this season, we will be the only competent franchise in this entire division. And ooh wee, that sounds beautiful. I'm gonna catch y'all later. Appreciate y'all. Make sure you leave a like on the way out. I'm out.